In chapter 10 of Wheelock, we are covering fourth conjugation verbs and third conjugation verbs of the IO or EO variety. So this fourth conjugation type of verb is the last conjugation we're learning in this chapter. And then the EO verbs are third conjugation verbs, and really they're sort of a hybrid between third and fourth conjugation characteristics. So before we go into the material here, I just want to review a couple of things with you. How do we tell the difference between first, second, and third and fourth conjugation verbs? And then when we have third conjugation verbs, there are some that are simple, plain third conjugation, and some are third conjugation EO verbs. All right. So how do we tell the difference between all of these? Remember that the basic rule of thumb is to look at the second principal part. So this is the first principal part. This is the second. We have a third and fourth. We'll be getting into those soon, but we haven't had to use them. And remember that the issue here is to find out what is the vowel that comes before the ending re in the second principal part, which is the present infinitive. Laudare here has a long A, that's first conjugation. Monere has a long E, second conjugation. And then just to round out the long vowels, audire, fourth conjugation, has a long I. Now, in third conjugation, you'll see that both of these have a short E before the re infinitive ending. Whenever I see an infinitive that has a short E, then this is third conjugation. So how do I tell the difference between a regular third conjugation verb and the one that ends with IO, the EO form? And here you have to look at the present tense, which is the first principal part. When the infinitive has ere with a short E before the re, then you have to look at the first principal part to see whether the first singular form has just simple O or EO here, right? So ago and capio are the difference, O or EO here. Okay, so let's move on now and talk about characteristics of these fourth conjugation verbs and these third conjugation EO verbs. All right, now over here we can look at our handout. Verbs of the fourth conjugation have a characteristic long I vowel in the present stem. And this long I vowel wants to stay there as long as it can, pardon the pun, but it is going to shorten in all those places where long vowels shorten. I have described this as the ant and trim conditions, where the vowels in ant and trim represent any vowel. So if a long vowel from the stem comes before any other vowel, then it's going to shorten. And then in these situations, before NT, ND, TR, and M. Okay, so whenever I have a TR or M, it's a final consonant, this long vowel is going to shorten. Now, in the present tense, we're going to see some long vowels and some short vowels. Where will we see the short vowels? The long I shortens to a short I before the vowels, and then there is a final T in the present active indicative. In the future and the imperfect active indicative, these fourth conjugation verbs will have a short I, and the reason for that is a long E comes immediately after the I vowel, and therefore any long vowel before another vowel shortens. So we're going to see a short I in all the forms. And we'll pay attention to that here in just a moment when we look at the chart. So let's start with the present tense. There are a few additional things we want to say. As with first and second conjugation, how do you form the present tense? You take the present stem, that is, you grab the present infinitive, and you drop the re, and then you add personal endings. So just remembering that with laudo, we get lauda, right? And then generally we're adding our personal endings to that. Laudas, laudat, and whatever. And then the A shortens as necessary according to the ant and trim conditions. Now here with our fourth conjugation, we take audire and the drop the re, and this would be the present stem, right? And then what I would expect to do then is simply to add the personal endings to that. But with the third person plural ending, I have this final NT here. And I would have expected then audient, right? But the form is actually audiunt. And so I get this this U here as opposed to just the NT. So if you remember ago, the third conjugation form, its third person plural form in the present active is agunt. All right. Now let's real quickly take a look at the paradigm here, and I'll show you. We'll focus here on the fourth conjugation. We have audio. You can say these with me. I hear. Audio, audis, audit, audimus, auditus, audiunt. So notice here that all forms of fourth conjugation verbs that have this long I, there is an I before your endings, right? But single I. I'm not going to add an I and then another I with these forms in between the first and the first singular and the third plural. But like with ago, I have an O, but I get this I right before it. With agunt, audiunt is like that, except I've got the I before the unt. Okay, so in every other way, it looks like ago's forms, except I've got the long I when I can have it. Okay, so that is that's the present there. Let's go back and let's just talk about the imperfect of fourth conjugation verbs. The imperfect of first and second conjugation take the present stem, drops re, and then adds the tense morpheme or tense sign ba, usually with long a unless it has to shorten in the ant and trim conditions. We'll add ba directly to the long vowel, and then we add the personal endings. So laudabam, notice that the long a has shortened because m is one of the trim consonants. And then monebam, here we have the first singular m, and so the long a is shortened. So I was praising, I was warning. Okay, but in fourth conjugation, what we're adding is a ba to the present stem. So again, if audi is my stem after I drop the re, then I'm not just adding ba, I'm adding a ba to that. And since I'm adding a vowel, long e, to the long I of audi, that I has to shorten before the vowel. So what I'm left with is audieba, and first singular audiebam. All right, so not audibam. So that e is going to slip in there as a long e before the ba. A second singular audiebas. So I was hearing, you were hearing, and so forth. Aside from that change, the imperfect tense is normal and predictable. So once you know that little adjustment, you can anticipate all the forms of the imperfect. So let's again take a look at these. We're going to go to the imperfect here, and again we're focusing on fourth conjugation here. So remember, with the third conjugation, we also saw this long e vowel before the ba. So we're doing the same thing with fourth conjugation, but we're sticking that I vowel in there before the a ba. Okay, so you can repeat after me. Audiebam, audiebas, audiebat, audiebamus, audiebatis, audiebant. Okay, so as imperfect, this is past, typically progressive. I was hearing, you were hearing, and so forth. Back up to the last section, the present imperative. If you remember, how we form the present imperative normally is you take the present stem, drop the re. So laudare, right? That. I drop the re. This is the second singular. Add te, and I get the second plural. Okay? And so this is normal. What I do is I take audire, drop the re, and I've got the second singular. Now don't add a personal ending. Add te to get the second plural. audi, here, one you, and then audite, here, you plural, you guys, all of y'all. All right, so very normal there, and then so you'll see the forms here. So audi, audite, here. Different from the present imperative of third conjugation, by the way. That is normal, age, but it gets an I here, sort of unexpectedly. But with audire, the I is expected because that's part of the stem. All right, now let's talk about third conjugation EO verb forms. Okay, these have a characteristic short I vowel, as opposed to the fourth conjugation has a characteristic long I vowel in the present stem. This short I vowel, this is wonderful. This short I vowel, it's short, okay, is present in all three of the tenses built on the present stem. We build the present tense, the future tense, the imperfect tense on the present stem. And it is short in all the forms. Because it's a third conjugation verb, it's going to follow the behavior of normal third conjugation verbs like ago, except with the extra I vowel, where the normal third conjugation verb doesn't have one. Okay, so let's just make a few comments about each of the conjugations tenses here, or the third conjugation's tenses, and then we'll look at the future. Present tense of this verb looks like the normal third conjugation verb ago with a single I in all the forms, but in the first singular and third plural, we're going to have a vowel after that I, the O and the U. So with ago, for example, right, that's the normal third conjugation verb for first singular ago. With our verb capio that we're using, we're going to see this I vowel before that O, capio. So ago, I lead, capio, I take. And then in the third person plural, agunt is ago's form. And with capio, I've got that I vowel before the unt, capiunt, capiunt. So they lead, they take. So let's look at our present tense forms. So, and again, we want to contrast with ago as well as with audio. You're going to see some similarities between third and fourth conjugation because they as I mentioned, these third conjugation EO verb forms are more or less a hybrid between third and fourth. Okay, so ago, agus, agit, agimus, agitus, agunt. Look at capio's forms. Exactly the same, but with the I in front. Capio, capis, capi, capimus, capitus, capiunt. Right? So what I don't do is I don't put two I's here. I don't do copy and then is, right? This is going to be simplified to just one I vowel, copies. So it will look like agus, agit, agimus, and all these forms. It's really in the first singular and third plural that these look very different because I have the O and the additional I in front of it. Okay, but if you compare with the fourth conjugation, it looks exactly the same. Audio, capio, audis, capis, audi, capi. The only difference being that we have long I vowels because the I is long and has to shorten in some circumstances, whereas with third conjugation EO verbs, the I's are always short. No ifs, ands, or buts. Okay? All right, good. What about the imperfect? The imperfect looks just like the imperfect of normal third conjugation verbs, like ago, except with the extra I before the eba. So remember, with ago, regular third conjugation, we had ag plus eba, right? And the first singular was agebam. With capio, I get the abam, but the extra I before, capiebam. So I was leading, I was taking. So let's look at the forms there. And now we're focusing on this one, imperfect third conjugation EO verbs. Agebam, capiebam. Agebas, capiebas. So I was taking, I was hearing. Let's go ahead and read the forms and we'll just read them down. Capiebam, I was taking. Capiebas, you were taking. Capiebat, he, she, or it was taking. Capiebamus, we were taking. Capiebatis, you all were taking. Capiebant, they were taking. Again, notice that here, the forms are all short I in fourth and all short I in third. So these imperfect forms are identical between fourth and third conjugation. All right, and then for the present imperative, this looks exactly like ago, the third conjugation, when we do a third conjugation eo verb. Second singular uses the real present stem. So if we take agere, for example, we drop the re. Age is my second singular imperative. And that's great, right? With capere, I'm going to drop the re, and I'm left with cape. And that's very normal. Okay, so I get age and cape, lead, take, to one single U. But the second plural changes that E to an I before adding the te. So I get agete with an I and capite with the I before the te there. Lead, take to a group of U plural. So we get that old switcheroo there. In ago, we get it with capio as well. So the forms age, agite for audio, audi, long I, audite, long I, but with third conjugation eo, it's cape and capite. So take. All right, so what about future tense? You may have noticed I haven't addressed the future tense yet here. Why not? Why not address the future tense for these new verb types? Well, it's because third and fourth conjugation verbs can be confusing in the future due to deviating from the future pattern we learned in first and second conjugation verbs. Those are, ere verbs were easy because they were the first ones we learned. But the third and fourth conjugations, they switch up on us in the future. So let's recall our memory help from chapter 8. This is going to help us in this chapter as well. Mnemonic device number 1. Oh, I and you are present. The imperfect is clear, but the future can be unclear. So when I see oh, I, and you in the paradigm, that's present tense in my third and fourth conjugation verb forms. The imperfect is fairly standard. We just have the additional I vowel in here, but you can still tell it's imperfect because you get the typical ba tense morpheme. But the future can be unclear. And why? Because the be's not there, right? So it's the only time we wish be's were present. Now, mnemonic device number 2. First and conjugation futures will be. Their future will forms will use be. Third and fourth conjugation futures will not be. They do not use be in the future, but will e. This is still true in this chapter. So thank the Lord for that. These verbs will look just like the future of ago, the third conjugation verb, except for the extra I in the verb stem when you compare it to ago. So let's take a look at the future. So if you remember, with ago, we got e, and then e's throughout, right? So I get for the future agam, I will lead, ages, you will lead, aget, he, she, it will lead, agemus, we will lead, agetus, y'all will lead, and agent, they will lead. And so either it's or it's e. And the e is trying to be long, and it goes short in those places where it needs to be short. Ant and trim. You see the ant and trim forms. Where are they? M, right? T, and there's NT. So that's where we get the short vowels. All right. So looking at the fourth conjugation form, we have audiam, so like agam, but with the I. Audies, looks like ages, but with the I. So I will hear, you will hear. Audiet, he, she, it will hear. Audiemus, we will hear. Audietus, y'all will hear. Audient, they will hear. Looks just like these, except the extra I. And with capio, it's the same. Looks just like agam, ages, but with the I in front of these vowels. Capiam, capies. Okay, so this is I will take, you will take, capiet. He, she, it will take, capiemos. We will take, capietes. Y'all will take, capient. They will take. All right, so there are your forms. So thankfully, this is a fairly short chapter. And now that we've spent a couple of chapters really working in those third conjugation verb forms, since the fourth and the third conjugation IO verbs are so similar, this will not be as much of a difficult chapter for us. So happy learning.